11 early autism signs in babies. Every parent should know. Did you know that about 1 in 44 children are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, according to the CDC? That's a pretty surprising number. If you're a parent or planning to become one, you might want to pay close attention to this video. Today, we're going to dive deep into a very important topic: early signs of autism in babies. Early detection is key when it comes to helping children get the support they need. The earlier you can identify these signs, the better it will be for your child's development. So, if you're wondering what to watch for, stay tuned. This information could make a huge difference for your little one. Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're discussing something that's really important for parents and caregivers: spotting the early signs of autism in babies. Why is it important to identify these signs early? Well, the sooner we can recognize them, the sooner we can get the right help for our children. Autism affects how children develop in terms of communication, social interaction, and behavior, so being aware of the early signs can help you support your child in the best way possible. Autism isn't something that a child grows out of, but with early intervention, they can develop the skills they need to navigate the world successfully. So, let's go through some things to watch for as your baby grows. It's important to note that recognizing early signs of autism in babies can be challenging. Babies are still developing, and many of their behaviors can vary widely. Sometimes it's hard to tell if what you're seeing is a normal part of development or a sign that something more may be going on. It's also easy to overlook some signs because babies are unpredictable. That's why being observant and paying attention to certain key behaviors can really help you identify potential issues early on. The sooner you notice these signs, the better your chances of getting the right help and support for your child. And remember, early intervention has been shown to make a significant difference in a child's ability to develop communication, social, and cognitive skills. Let's get into the details. Here are 11 early signs that your baby might have autism. These signs don't automatically mean that your child has autism, but they are things to watch closely and discuss with a healthcare professional if you notice them. The first sign to watch out for is limited eye contact. Eye contact is a big part of how babies communicate and bond with their caregivers. If your baby avoids eye contact or doesn't seem interested in looking at you when you're feeding them, talking to them, or playing with them, that could be a sign. Babies usually lock eyes with their parents, especially during activities like feeding or when they're being cuddled. If your baby is avoiding your gaze, it might be something to monitor. Another important sign is not responding to their name. Babies typically start recognizing their own name by around 6 months. When you call their name, they should turn their head or at least acknowledge that they've heard you. If your baby doesn't seem to respond to their name consistently or even at all, this could be a red flag. Of course, this could also indicate a hearing problem, so it's important to get it checked out by a doctor. But if your baby is hearing fine and still not responding to their name, it's something worth investigating further. Delayed babbling is another sign. Babies usually start making babbling sounds between 4 and 6 months. They'll make noises like ba-ba or da-da as part of their early attempts at communication. If your baby isn't babbling by this age or seems uninterested in making any sounds, it could be a sign of a communication delay. Babbling is one of the earliest steps babies take towards developing language, so a delay in this area is important to pay attention to. Social smiles are another thing to watch for. Babies are typically very smiley, especially when interacting with their parents. Most babies will smile back at you by around 3 months. If your baby isn't smiling much or doesn't seem to react to your attempts to make them smile, it might be a sign of something more serious. Smiling is one of the earliest ways babies engage in social interactions, and if that connection isn't happening, it's worth paying attention to. A lack of gestures is another sign to consider. By the time babies are around 9 months old, they usually start using gestures to communicate. They might wave goodbye, point to things they want, or reach out for objects. These are all normal ways for babies to communicate before they have the words to express themselves. If your baby isn't using any gestures or seems uninterested in communicating with you through body language, that's something to keep in mind. It could be a sign that their social development is delayed. Another sign to watch for is an intense focus on certain objects. Babies are usually curious about everything around them. They'll often switch their attention from one thing to another, exploring their environment. But if your baby seems overly focused on one particular object and ignores everything else, that could be a red flag. Some babies with autism become fixated on certain toys or objects and have little interest in much else. This kind of behavior is something to monitor closely. Unusual reactions to sensory input can also be a sign of autism. Babies with autism might be very sensitive to certain sounds, textures, or lights, or they might seem indifferent to them. For example, some babies may become very upset by loud noises or certain textures, while others may not react to things that would normally grab a baby's attention, like loud sounds or bright lights. This sensitivity, or lack of it, could be an indicator of how your baby processes sensory information. If your baby seems either overly sensitive or completely indifferent to sensory experiences, it's something worth discussing with a healthcare provider. Difficulty with change is another thing to watch for. Babies generally like routines, but most are also able to adapt to changes in their environment or schedule. If your baby becomes very upset when something changes, like moving to a new room or switching from one activity to another, this could be a sign that they're having trouble adapting. Babies with autism can have a hard time with change, and even small adjustments can lead to distress or meltdowns. If you notice that your baby is particularly sensitive to changes in routine, it might be worth looking into. A lack of interest in play is another sign to keep in mind. By around 12 months, most babies love to play with toys and explore their surroundings. If your baby doesn't seem interested in playing with toys or interacting with their environment, it could be a sign of autism. Play is a key part of development, and it helps babies learn about the world and how to interact with it. If your baby isn't engaging in play like other babies their age, it's something to monitor. Another important sign is an absence of joint attention. Joint attention is when a baby shares an experience or object with someone else, like pointing to something interesting and then looking at you to share the experience. Babies usually start engaging in joint attention by the time they're around 12 months old. If your baby doesn't seem interested in sharing experiences with you or pointing out things that catch their attention, this could be a sign of autism. Finally, repetitive behaviors like rocking, hand flapping, or lining up toys in a very specific way can be a sign of autism. Babies with autism often engage in repetitive movements or actions and can become very upset if their routine is disrupted. These repetitive behaviors can be a way for them to self-soothe or deal with sensory overload. If you notice that your baby is engaging in these kinds of repetitive actions, it's something to take seriously. The most critical sign to watch for is a lack of response to their name. This can be one of the earliest indicators of communication issues, which are foundational for all future social interactions. If your baby consistently doesn't respond to their name, even in quiet or focused settings, it's important to reach out to a pediatrician or specialist. Early intervention programs can help your child develop the skills they need to communicate and interact with others. So, to sum it all up, we've gone over 11 early signs of autism that you can watch for in your baby. These signs include limited eye contact, not responding to their name, delayed babbling, a lack of social smiles, limited gestures, an intense focus on certain objects, unusual reactions to sensory input, difficulty with change, a lack of interest in play, an absence of joint attention, and repetitive behaviors. While these signs don't necessarily mean that your child has autism, they are definitely things to monitor. If you notice any of these signs in your baby, don't hesitate to reach out to a healthcare provider for further evaluation. Early detection and intervention can make a huge difference in helping your child develop the skills they need to thrive. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this video helped you learn more about the early signs of autism in babies. If you've noticed any of these signs in your own child, or if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. And if you found this video useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content on child development, parenting tips, and early intervention. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.